From the front lines of the military to the front lines of business, this is Military to Management. I'm your host, Eamon. Each episode, we uncover how veterans are translating discipline, leadership, and mission first values into success in today's corporate world. Hey, Ty, thanks for joining the Military to Management podcast with me this fine Saturday morning. Excited to talk to you about your journey from the military to where you're at now. So how about you kind of walk us through getting out and your journey in that transition?
Yeah, man, I'd love to. Appreciate you having me on, Eamon. Look forward to the conversation that we're going to have today. Literally joined the Marine Corps literally right out of high school. So graduated May and was in boot camp by, mid-June, early July. Ready to serve. Initially went in as a radar technician, so air traffic control radar technician. Went to boot camp out at San Diego, MCRD San Diego. So spent the first 3 months there. Ended up coming back, turned around and did 30 months of recruiter's assistance, just in between me going from basic training to MCT. So from there, my first duty station was going down to Pensacola, Florida, where my training was. So ended up being down there almost 2 years just because of how long my school was, because I had to go through one school in order to even get to my other school. So ended up being down there for about 2 years, and then turned right around and went right from there to overseas. So went right to Japan, to Iwakuni, stayed there for 2 years. Absolutely loved it, which was, I was trying to go back just because I had spent some time there with my mom when she served. So we spent some time in Yokota earlier. So getting back to Japan was great. And then from there, got a chance to actually talk to the board, and I went on embassy duty. So Japan, right to embassy duty. So literally went to Quantico for school for 2 months, and then turned around and went right back overseas. So went to my first embassy, which was Gaborone, Botswana, in southern Africa, about 3 hours north of Johannesburg. Stayed there for a year, and got fast turned around because they wanted me to go open a post. So I ended up going to Chengdu, China, smack dab in the middle of China, to open a brand new consulate, which was, never what I ever thought I would be in China, but it actually ended up being a great post. It was really good just seeing the history, being out there. Great great population of just Europeans, everything there. So it was a good way to kind of get introduced to that area. So we fast forward, end up having some issues with my re-enlistment there, which was kind of crazy. End up having to cross fiscal year re-enlist. So I could no longer go back to being a radar technician. So I had a choice of like 3 jobs that I had to choose from. I think one was going to be a cook, and then the other one was a CID agent, and then a tech controller. As like the CID agent would have been cool, but like I couldn't leave for the time that the class would start, so ended up looking into a tech controller, which was fine. It kept me on the technical side, but just put me on the ground side of communications. So ended up leaving embassy duty after China because I had to leave early to go to school to reclass. So stayed there another 12 months, and then was at 29 Palms. Ended up being out 29 Palms for a year for school to reclass as a technical controller, which was great as far as just the job, getting to do what I did as far as working with some of the people, being there. We ended up helping create one of the barrack NCO's positions, so keeping sergeants come back, trying to really recreate that part where taking ownership of something. So stayed there and then went right to Pendleton from there, out to Com Company on remained behind just because the company was out forward deployed when I got there. And then from there, was there probably about 11 months, and then I actually got hot field orders to go out to, at that time, um, Marine Special Operations Battalion when they were still out on the West Coast at Pendleton. So got hot field orders to go there, and didn't think that would happen, but it was great. A couple of master sergeants that I knew said that it would be a great fit for me, which was funny because at that time I wasn't that much of a great swimmer, wasn't scared of the water with there, but went over there anyway and gave it a shot. Turned out being one of the best things I had done, just as far as getting to meet new people, getting to do a new skill, because I spent a whole lot of time traveling down to MacDill, down to Coronado, spending time with those guys down at JTAX, learning the new communication gear, so I could go back and teach our guys once we got them spun up. So I think that was probably one of the best times I had, just being able to at that time, take a lot of nothing and be like, okay, here's what we got, here's what we want to do, let's make it work. So had a lot of time and a lot of good people that I work with to be able to go out and put our heads together and really start making something happen with little bit of nothing to begin with at first.
That's awesome, man. Your career is like you were in Japan, China, Africa. I mean, that's amazing. And then you got to go to, really cool opportunity in Pendleton. Also got to be in Pendleton. So you got like all the best duty stations, the little side trip. That's pretty awesome. What are some of like the biggest lessons or values that you took from your time in the Marines?
Um, Man, I think it was just, for me, it was just the people. Really, the biggest lessons, leadership lessons I learned really is how you treat your other Marines and other folks that are working with you, right? And been on both sides of it. Had the person that really just you know worked on, didn't talk to people correctly, demean people, whatever it was, and just see the effect that it has on the camaraderie, the teamwork that you have versus somebody that's listening, making sure you have what you need to get the job done, and then taking that extra interest to make sure to get you to where you want to be and not just keep you where you're at. So yeah, I think one of the biggest lessons that I really took from the Marine Corps is really that understanding how to work on a team, right? And that you're always going to be part of a team. It doesn't matter if you're the leader of that team or not. You got to be able to work as a team, and then just really how to treat your fellow Marines or your fellow coworkers.
It's great. It's a great lesson. Leadership is just so key in, every industry, as well as obviously in the military. What was your transition like when you got out of the Marines? What was that like? Because I know you took like from when where you went when you got out, you have like a great journey to where you are now. So can you kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, um, so because I ended up getting medically discharged, had a horrible, injured my knee, but had a horrible motorcycle accident afterwards. So ended up getting medically discharged, and kind of that year beforehand, I knew that I was getting out, so I just kind of started looking at, okay, what's next? What am I gonna do? So started looking at schools, started looking at jobs. At one point, I looked at a couple of jobs that were gonna keep me in California, kind of working on the base. I just didn't want to be, you know, living paycheck to paycheck, because even at that time, Cali was expensive. So after I looked for a little while longer, end up looking at a couple schools, applying. Um, I applied to LA Tech, which is close to where I'm from at home. Um, I applied to UNLV just because it would have been made sense to be out there. My dad was in Vegas, so and then I applied to Rochester Institute of Technology. Ended up getting a response back from the the veteran liaison at RIT, and he was like, "Hey," he was like, "just take a weekend, come out and see me." So I was like, took some leave, found some time, flew out there. I told him kind of what programs I would be interested in if I came there. So he literally, from the time I got there, he picked me up. He showed me around the campus. He took me around and introduced me to the department heads of the departments that I would want to go to. Let me talk to them, and he really made it easy. I think the thing that got me with RIT was that it was a smaller school setting, so the biggest classes that I would be in would be like my my major studies, so like psychology, chemistry, and they were still not going to be over 100 people. And then my core class would only be like 20 to 15 to 20. So I was like, that's cool, because I didn't really want to go to a big college where I would be sitting in a mass lecture hall with 300 people. Uh, so yeah, so I did that for that weekend, and he pretty much took care of everything. He was like, look, he was like, I'll take care of all your application fees. He was like, I'll make sure you get the yellow ribbon scholarship because the tuition was higher, being that it was a private school. So he was like, we'll make sure. He was like, I'll take care of all that stuff. He was like, you just need to tell me if you want to start in the summer or if you want to wait. So went back, kind of talked it over, and then like, okay, well, we just gonna make the decision. Like I kind of didn't want to wait. Hindsight, I wish I probably would have waited a little bit longer because I probably made a couple of things easier. But literally, my last day at Pendleton was in May, and I drove from there. I made a few stops along the way for a little bit. Shoot, I was in New York by mid-July in a new apartment, getting ready to start school in August, right? So cross country.
That's awesome.
uh, yeah, but I think it was probably the best thing for me just because I think had I gone to work right after, I probably wouldn't have lasted. The school gave me, even though the first year was rough, it gave me the chance I needed to kind of slow down, get used to not having to be up early, not having to deal with the regular stress of being in the uniform, and kind of make that transition a little bit easier, even though it still had its up and downs with even going to school.
Can I ask a quick question? How did you get in contact with the veteran liaison at RIT grade school? Like, how'd you get in contact with that person, and did you get in contact with a similar position at the other schools, or was it just RIT that had that?
It was just RIT that reached out. So pretty much, so every school that I had looked at, I went through and looked at their veteran basically page and kind of sent, most of them had a questionnaire or some type of thing. Um, but literally, RIT was the first one that reached out. Like I never heard back from the liaisons at the other schools, even though I sent them messages. Uh, so yeah, they were just RIT was just the one that reached back out. Gene was his name, and literally it was great because he was there, and I was one of the last folks that he helped before he retired. Like he retired probably about 6 months after I got to the school.
Would you recommend when guys and girls getting out of the military are thinking about going right into college, would you recommend just reaching out to those types of folks, at all the colleges that they are applying to?
Yeah, I mean, always anything dealing with the school, most of them have some type of veteran officer or veteran liaison. Reach out to them and talk to them. Email. A lot of them have phone numbers. Reach out and call them. It's just, I think it makes things a whole lot easier just because one, they know the school system, so they know how to make sure all your paperwork is good. Two, they know the VA side of it, so they can help make sure that you're going and getting the right paperwork done, getting the right stuff signed. That way, there's no disconnect with you getting into school. Because I've had that happen before too, where just not having the right paperwork and then you got to push something back or to the left just because you got to wait for it to come back around and get approved again.
Great. That's great. That's great advice, and honestly, I wish I did that when I was going to school after I got out. I didn't though, so I'm glad you did. sharing that with everybody who might listen to this. How can you kind of walk us through, Ty, what it was like, what like you finished up school and kind of walk us through your career path to where you are now?
Yeah, so so finished up school. So well, and the great thing about RIT is that in the degree that I had, my electronic engineer technology program, they required you to do co-ops. So they required you, part of your curriculum was to go out and actually work in industry, right? So that was great. So I ended up my first one because I only had to do two out of the four because I had my military experience. So my first one was at a company called TE Connectivity, which is great. Matt Michelanis was my boss then. He was my boss then. Great company. Ended up going out there, did a lot of testing, signal testing, stuff like that. And then uh, my second one, which was late 2014, I ended up going out to USAA. So I did an internship out there. Same thing, good team, good vibe. The one thing that it did for me was it got me back close to at least in the area where a lot of my family was, which was Texas, which would have been the first time in a long time that I had been at least driving distance from a lot of my families. That helped kind of it helped me make the decision when it came time when they offered me a job afterwards that year upon me graduating. So graduated 2015 and was there in San Antonio starting at USAA by July of that year at the team that I interned with. So uh, good transition as far as just at that time because I think that was one of the things too. I still kind of wanted to work with something that had something to do with the military and stay connected in some way. So that kind of made it easy to kind of fall in place there at USAA with what their mission was and where it was at. So I think that was the big part of the transition inside of there.
That's awesome. USA is great. I'm a USA member. Appreciate you. Appreciate you supporting that mission. How was it as you kind of climbed the ranks at USAA? I know you're doing some other stuff, and then
Yeah,
you
I mean, like it wasn't bad. The team that I worked on was awesome. Um, it was kind of cool because like I ended up on the team that had majority of my team was you know military veterans too. So I think over half of us were vets. So that kind of made it easy on my team specifically. Um, so overall, it was good. I enjoyed the work I did because I wasn't really tied to a desk all the time because we actually support the conference room infrastructure for USAA and the conferencing equipment. So it allowed me to get up and actually go to other ends of the office and meet and actually talk to people, which was good. I think the first 2 3 years were great as far as just learning, constantly having something to do. Everything was kind of moving. I don't think it was till like year 4 or 5 where like for me it kind of got stagnant, and it was just due to that the corporate life, right? You gotta reorg. You got a new boss. We end up moving buildings, so you know now we support this huge building, but we're now 20 minutes down the road. So going back and forth kind of made things a little difficult. And I think just the biggest part for me was just, especially being in the military, understanding that middle management is your bread and butter. They're not interchangeable. And if your manager can't talk to or speak to what their team is doing, then you're doing them a disservice, right? So it kind of made it hard to get some stuff done when we didn't own some of the tools or things that we did. So we relied on other teams to make certain changes before we could even get some of our work done. And if I got to go back and forth in between a team and I can't have my manager fight some of those battles and get priority going, it just makes the job harder. So going through that, and then after a while, then of course we hit COVID, right? So that threw us all at home, and then it just kind of got tired because it seemed like we were just having meetings just to have meetings, right? It wasn't anything productive. We were just kind of on these calls, listening to a bunch of stuff being said and no decisions being made. And then I think really just going back into that, the thing that really killed it for me was, getting another new manager, one that didn't know what our job was. I think we were getting to the time that they started making these evals mandatory, but the eval that they sent us described nothing that our job did, right? So I started asking questions like, how can you have an eval for me and you don't even have an actual job description written for my title and what I do? I said, so when it comes time for me to actually be looked at to get promoted or looked at against somebody else, because my job doesn't read the same as theirs, and you're gonna compare me against theirs, it's not the same. So I don't get the same look as everybody else. Um, and so just kind of trying to figure that out, and it kept getting pushed down the road. Oh yeah, we're gonna rewrite it. We're gonna do this, and kind of never happened. And then just the last part of that was the manager I had. When you have access to all my information, everything is out there, but you send me my what's supposed to be my performance eval, and it has a complete wrong name on it, right? So,
Man. Yeah.
you know, so I was just kind of like, all right, well, I made up my mind then that it was time for me to go. And yeah, like you said, I had been, even during this time, I had already started training and doing that. So I had already got my certification as a personal trainer. I was working at a local gym down there. I was actually shadowing the guy that ran the personal trainer program for about a year. Just learning, doing group classes. So I would literally go teach class in the morning at like 5 and 6, go to work from 7 to 3, and then I would go back to the gym, from about 4 to 8. And that was pretty much Monday through Friday. So yeah, but I made that choice about a year in. I was like, okay, I'm gonna give them a year. So literally what I did was I added to my retirement fund. So I upped what I was putting into my retirement fund, and I got it, and I made sure I saved what I needed to make sure that I could pay for my house for a year while I made that transition from USAA to into training full time. And so I went through that next year, just getting stuff in order, getting stuff for my teammates ready that were going to have to take over my duties that I was doing. Um, and then, April that next year came around, and I left. I popped smoke and left, and went right into and it was just kind of a culmination of a whole bunch of things. The guy that I was working under at the gym, he ended up leaving, so I kind of went right into the role that he had, for a little bit as running our small group, handling the personal training part of it. Did that for a little while, and then kind of fell back and forth, in between that, as I was also going in and out of town, coming to where I'm at currently, part time, for courses as they weren't running as often as they are now. So did that for about a year. I started my own business up, so I was pretty much made a studio gym in my garage. So I was running group classes and personal training out of my garage. I was working at the gym still, just kind of going out and doing whatever I could to make it happen. Became a nutrition coach. Ended up a lady that I ended up meeting actually through one of my coworkers. She owned a bakery and she was a registered dietitian, so a lot of my clients I ended up sending there. She do classes, which was great, for me and for her, just learning, being able to help clients out. So that was good. Had a real good run just for a year with not doing anything, just simply training, just working at the gym, working at the house. I think after about a year of doing that, I was kind of looking for something, just kind of like, all right, we need to see what else we can get into. So I actually reached out to one of our one of our partners, because at that point we were kind of partnered with GNC to get some of our coaches hired and stuff like that. So I called, um, end up end up getting the job at the GNC at the base down there in San Antonio on Lackland. Uh, and then I do that, and I get a call from Matt Hess, who's our CEO and founder here, and my friend Johnny Martin. And they're like, hey, we got this idea. We want you to take this trailer, a Beaver Fit trailer. We want you to kind of travel to bases. We want you to kind of set up events, sell some product, whatever it is. But, tell us kind of what you think. So he's like, hey, come up with a business plan and, shoot it back to me. So I kind of slept on it for a day or two, and which was funny because I had already talked about wanting to do something with the trailer or something already. So I kind of already had a blueprint in one of my notebooks. So I kind of went back to that, sketched out this blueprint, sent it to him. We talked about it. He was like, okay, cool. He was like, we're going to get your trailer. We'll get your truck. You'll come here and pick it up in November, and we'll be off and running. We'll negotiate your pay through them and stuff like that. So ended up working in the store for maybe 2 months, and then got pulled out of the store and kind of off and running. Ended up meeting my counterpart who I work with, Sarah. She was from another store. We clicked immediately. She was an Army vet, and so we just started creating these events. Like, how are we going to do this? Because we didn't have a lot of help. So, all right, where are we going? Are we going to bases? Are we going to events? So we just really kind of hit the ground running with each other. We kind of created our own little flyers and stuff like that. And then we started calling bases. So we ended up we went as far as Florida because we went to a Spartan race down in Florida, and we went as far north as Colorado Springs. Um, and literally for a year, pretty much every weekend for a year, we were on the road at a base somewhere setting up, hosting events. So we would, do competitions, whether it be a push-ups, pull-ups, deadlift. We would have free samples of products. We would do all of that stuff, and it was just like it was fun. Like I said, while it was busy and we were on the road all the time, it was really fun being able to get out on the bases with the military guys. Because as anything with military, once you put some weights in, you say it's a competition. Everybody's showing up, everybody's, having a good time, you know. So
So how's that and that so how's that transition to what you're doing now? Because what you're doing now is I love how your journey went, Marine Corps, very smooth transition into college, smooth transition into corporate, honestly smooth transition into kind of entrepreneurship as well. Like I love that you saved up a year's worth of expenses. Like that's super smart because you had a long runway to get things right. And now what you're doing and what you're a part of is really exciting, especially for folks who are thinking about getting out of the military. It's a great path, as you get out. So talk to us a little bit about that and what's going on with it.
yeah, so even now, so how I got from the trailer to here was, um, NC kind of winded down on that. They didn't really want to push it the way that it could have been pushed. So I went back in the store. So yeah, so that would have been October, November 23. I went back into the store at Lackland. Ended up staying on there, actually helping my DM close down one of his other stores. So I stayed on through that, and then in March of that following year, I got a phone call from Hunter, who's my VP now, and he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "if you're free in March for a week," he was like, "I would love to get you back up here." So I was like, I looked at it. Of course, I had plenty of PTO because I hadn't done anything but travel and all that stuff for that year. So I took the week. I came out here. I get here, and we're running the RWB event, just a week long event, just getting people interested in coming back through our programs. So end up seeing our boss, and we run into each other. He's like, "Hey man," he's like, "it's good to have you back." He's like, "Hey, we need to figure out kind of how do we get you back here full time." XYZ. He's like, good to see you, and he kind of leaves it at that. He leaves, and so the week goes by. I'm like, okay, cool, love y'all, see y'all again, sometime soon. Get home, get another phone call from Hunter. Hey, we'd really like to have you back out as a guest coach in April if you can come back out. I'm like, all right, I don't have that much time as far as my PTO. I was like, do I take this chance? Leave the job, because at that time it's like, okay, well, we still got to make sure bills is getting paid, stuff like that. But, I was like, at the end of the day, I was kind of like, all right, this is probably kind of where I need to make a decision on making this transition. And so April came around, I was like, okay, and I left GNC. And I came down here in April, did the class as a guest coach, and from there, they started working on getting me a permanent position, and so I started here officially full time in May of last year.
So tell us a little bit, Ty. Like, where's here, and what are you guys
Yep.
doing?
Let's definitely dive into that one. Yep. So where I'm at currently now is outside of Bentonville, Arkansas. Our company is called UHP, and it actually sits on 800 acres out here right outside of Gentry, Arkansas. And we're actually half in Arkansas and half in Oklahoma. Half our property actually sits in Oklahoma. But the program itself derived from what was known as Mission Next, and then FitOps. And basically, our CEO and founder's vision was he believed that veterans are this country's greatest asset. What he found was that most of us, the easiest way to get us to start talking or start making some changes is through fitness and health, which is why he came with the original concept of, I'm gonna rent out a summer camp during the wintertime when nobody's using it, and we're gonna host these classes, and we're gonna teach people how to become personal trainers. From there, he kind of, because at that time he was still running his business, which at that time was the performance supplements. So he eventually got out of that, used that, bought the land here, and started building. And so it turned into initially what was called the University of Health and Performance. We now just done a name change to now take us to the next level that he wants to see. But essentially, we have 2 courses that are fully VA GI Bill funded, that you can come and either learn to be a personal trainer or integrative health coach. Both which are great. And the one thing that we pride ourselves on is that we don't just make trainers. We make people coaches. Anybody can go online and get a cert and say that they're a personal trainer or they're an integrative health coach. But we are all in person, and we say that we make the greatest coaches in the world, and I believe that we do.
That's incredible. So you're growing this program specific, like GI Bill, ready to go. People getting out of the military who might want to become a coach or a personal trainer. Is that that's your target demographic? You guys are, and it sounds like you guys are growing pretty rapidly. Is that the case?
Correct. So yeah, this year, this was the first year that we basically ran a class every month, and we're actually ending the year with running 2 classes every month. So we have a CPT and a IHC course every month throughout the rest of the year. We're also getting ready to launch our culinary arts program, which is going to be a nutrition program that's kind of farm to table. So we'll be growing, they'll be learning how to coach, they'll be learning some meal prep, some prep on food as far as cooking and stuff like that. So fully immersive for experience, in which it helps because as most military, that was the way we learned best. That's how all our schools were. You go, you spend that time, you get in it, you do it, and then you're off and running. So all of our courses are designed that way. They're more experiential than they are didactic or lecture. Like, yes, we do some lecture, but every lecture is pretty much tied into a hands-on portion of some shape, form, or fashion.
That's like Such a good way to learn, and obviously you're right. That's how the military does it. So it's and great training in the military. So obviously that's going to work out well. Do you have what are like the big shifts or trends in your industry right now? Are you guys kind of coming out of with the veteran focus? Are you seeing any big trends or shifts like with the rest of the personal training fitness industry? Or talk to me a little bit about that.
Like, yes, we are, but at the same time, our boss, our CEO we're innovators and we're disruptors. So everything we're doing, nobody is doing. And his one goal, his one mission is to be like, he was like, I want people to try and replicate what we do. He was like, good luck. Um, so I mean, the biggest shift for us is really, you know, trying to keep up with ourselves a lot of times, right? With having new courses that requires new coaches, that requires bringing on more people, that requires more infrastructure, especially building from ground up, which is what we've been doing out here. But yeah, the biggest trends right now we're seeing, like as far as that we're following the course that we know, is like the health industry is shifting, right? We know that there's a whole piece that most people are missing, and we're trying to get to the proactive part of it versus the reactive part of it, right? But we're also, the biggest thing that you're going to get from us is the transition piece, which is what most people miss. Like, yes, we can make you a coach, we can make you that, but a lot of that is built on the reflection of self. Like, if you don't know yourself, if you haven't gotten through a lot of the other stuff that you've been through, you're going to train the way that you are, and that's in anything. So a lot of the stuff that we're teaching, the skills that we're teaching them, are self-reflection stuff, are things on how do you communicate with people, right? Because in the military, we have a specific way that we need to communicate. When we get out of the military, we need to learn how the rest of the world communicates as well. Like, there's a time and place to have that direct, I need it done, let's do this. But there's also a time when we need to be able to take in information, process it, and actually have a conversation about things. And I think that's a lot of the piece that some of the military miss when they get out, is they don't get that chance to really get their brain rewired around, okay, how do we actually talk to people? How do we listen with the intent of actually reflecting and actually taking in what they're saying so that they know we heard them versus thinking about what we're going to say to them.
100%. That's such a good point. The learning how to talk to civilians is a big part of the transition. Where do you want to see yourself and this company in the next like 6 to 12 months?
For me, my love is always still going to be, I want to be on the floor as much as possible, with our students as they come in. But I also know that in this industry and what we're doing, a lot of my time is going to be spent developing other coaches as we get them in, and also helping grow and structure some of the other sides of the business. So currently, I've been focusing a lot in on the technology part of what we have here, just as it's the background. It's easy for me to connect the dots on a lot of that stuff. So been focusing on how do we utilize the technology that we have. So everything from, how do we make it easy to do body composition, tie it all in? How do we get a dashboard where we can actually look at our students, enter information on them, see where they're at, to wearables. How are they sleeping when they get here? What's going on? Do we know if they're in a red day, we know that they probably need some more rest, or if they're good to go, we can probably push them a little harder. Um, so how do we take the technology piece and add it into what we're doing currently on top of that?
Amazing. If you had a magic wand to fix one problem, like what would it be?
Ooh, huh. To fix one problem.
Yeah, to help you guys grow or anything with the business,
Yeah,
like what would it be?
yeah, yeah. I think it would be just to be able to get probably like five more people that were already ready to go just to train. Just because that would help with not only the culinary arts course that we have coming up. We also, um, later next year, we'll be looking to launch our entrepreneurial program, um, which will go into one of the first franchise models that our CEO wants to do on the end of that for our students when they get out. So yeah, it would be able to just get five more. Like if we could get a solid five team to just be on the other side of what we have right now, that would just make a lot of things a lot easier.
All right. Really cool. Love what you guys are doing. If anybody listening to this is like interested and wants to jump in and do the course, like how can they find you guys? What's the best way to get in contact with you?
So the best way to get in contact is to go to uhp.com, and it'll literally have a link right there to get in contact with our mission staff, and they'll have everything that you need up there. The schedule for the year is up, so you can see the class dates and when they're going. There'll be videos and testimonials going on, but yeah, the easiest way would be just to go to the website right now, as we just relaunched it. So it's a lot cleaner, a lot easier to navigate as far as finding what you need.
If you got any like parting words of advice for anybody who may have just gotten out of the military or is thinking about getting out, what would it be?
I would say that the biggest thing I would say, trust yourself. And for most, especially my career guys, the guys that are retiring out, take the 6 months to just do nothing, just enjoy the family. Take that time to really relax and allow yourself to kind of come back to being in a place where you're okay, and then you can start making some decisions. I think too many times, and not even my career guys, even the guys that have been in just that first tour, right? We get out and we make that decision so quick when we get out to go run to a job or run do something else, that we usually pick the wrong place and we usually end up burning bridges or burn out really quick. So really, I think my biggest thing would really just take that little bit of time and really figure out what it is that you want to do. But the other part of that is it requires some self reflection. It requires you looking in the mirror and figuring out what makes you tick. And I think a lot of us are like maybe scared of that when we first get out because for the first time it's quiet and we don't have the chaos going on.
That's amazing advice. Ty, appreciate your time, man. Great story. Awesome thing that you guys are doing over there at UHP. Pleasure to have you on. Pleasure to talk to you today, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you to our guest for sharing their journey from the military to corporate leadership. We'll be back soon with more stories of veterans proving that success doesn't end with a uniform. It begins a new mission. This is Military to Management with your host, Eamon.